Well, hello everyone. Good morning. How are you guys doing today? How are you feeling this morning? Okay, not bad, not bad. Let's try that again. How are you feeling this morning? That's what I'm talking about. You guys are some real ones for spending your Friday, not just your Friday, but your Friday morning with me. So thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Greenwood Brewery for hosting us. And shout out to Mother Nature for this beautiful weather. I'm trying to take it all in. I'm trying to be outside as much as I can before it gets too hot because we all know what that's like. Every time I introduce myself, I feel like I'm creating an online dating bio for like the 100th time. I'm like, what can I say or do to make me sound or more appealing or look extra special? And obviously, no shade to the online dating. Love is love. I'm trying to find it. It hasn't found me. So make sure you follow me on Instagram. But since you're sharing your time with me, I want to give you some tea that you might not find online, in addition to the usual useful information. My name is Elyssa Bustamante, aka the Funky Latina. I'm a Scorpio, the youngest of three, and I come from a Puerto Rican and Mexican American background. I grew up in Mammoth, Arizona. Does anybody know where that is? Have you ever heard of it? It's a really tiny town. It's actually the wildflower capital of Arizona, and it's a rural mining town, and it's kind of like the ones you see in TV or in the movies. My uncle lived next door, my nana and tata lived up the street, my mom worked at my high school, which wasn't that fun but still very small. And it's just a really lovely, beautiful community. Shout out to anybody from the 520 Pinal County. I'm really proud to be from Arizona. I'm really proud of my community. After I graduated from high school, I attended Arizona State University, where I received my BA in Chicano Studies and English Literature. And upon graduation, I basically stayed in Phoenix. So I've been in Phoenix ever since. And now I call Phoenix home. I've survived many Phoenix summers. So I think I've proved myself as a true Phoenician so far. But before we get into it, I want to get to know all of you and feel free to interject, ask questions. I know Creatives Mornings isn't like your usual typical guest speaker. And the fact that you guys are here on a Friday morning, this is my time and your time. I'm so glad to share it together. But I want to ask you guys a few questions and I would love your feedback and participation. Do we have any music lovers in the house? Raise your hand. Make some noise. All right. That's pretty much everybody. You guys are my target audience. This is perfect. So I want to ask you guys some questions and take a little moment to think about it. But I want to know, like, what are you listening to right now? What song or artist do you have on repeat? Or maybe like, what were you listening on the way over here? I know for me, like, I wake up and I immediately put on music because it's like gets me going. It's super high energy. So does anybody want to share either a song or artist that they have on repeat right now? Go ahead. Yes, Dochi. Shout out to the best rapper in the game right now. She just won a Grammy. That's someone we need to get to Creative Mornings Phoenix. She's extremely creative. Is there a particular song or just everything? Yes, that's a no skip album. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else? Is there a song or artist? Go ahead. Okay. Nice. Okay, I if you guys don't mind, DM me your songs because I like to like add to my playlist. And I think this is also like a great way to discover new music is by asking people. So thank you for sharing that. Anybody else want to share what they're currently listening to? Go ahead. Yes, I love that. I mean, who doesn't love Lady Gaga? I loved her new song. I loved her new music video. That was extremely creative and absolutely beautiful. All right, so follow-up question. Now I have you guys thinking a little bit about music. And I think music is like, it's so important. It's tied to memories, it's tied to so much of my life. But I think a lot of music can help kind of define your moment of life. So now I'm asking you a little deep, dig a little bit deeper. Like, if there is there a song, an album, or an artist that you would describe kind of the moment of life you're in, kind of like whatever era you are? Like, what's your theme song, I guess, of the moment? Like, we all have different layers of life. And I think when I think about music, I think about, a song that reminds me of like studying when I was in college or Like right now, I think my song would probably be like Beyonce Break My Soul because there's so much going on that I gotta play that every single day to get the courage to exist and to be myself and to keep being creative. But it doesn't have also doesn't have to be that deep because there's other days where I feel like, like the Bad Bunny album is also kind of something that I have on repeat that is part of like my moment of life because it is such a joyful album and it's full of cultural expression. So is there anyone that wants to share a song, an album, an artist that is kind of their moment of life right now? Like, are you still having a brat summer? Are you in your hot girl era, like Megan the Stallion? I know that's kind of an interesting question, but anybody want to share? Go ahead. Nice. That's a beautiful song. I feel like that's a timeless song. I feel like good music never goes out of style. So thank you for sharing that. I need to add that to my playlist because that's a good one you could listen to every day to kind of give you encouragement and it's kind of like to manifest a lovely day. Awesome. Anybody else want to share? Go ahead. Okay, that's a good one. Yes, thank you guys. I love the diversity of the songs. This is amazing. All right, let's get one more. Would anyone else like to share? We're good. Okay, cool. I'm like, let me think. I don't really have another one, so we'll move on. But those were great answers. I love all of this. Like I said, DM me your songs because that helps me discover new music. Um, but I also want to kind of just like take a moment and reflect on how you're feeling today. The start of and how like the start of the year is going because January was like the longest year of my life and we're still in quarter one. So for me, so far so good. Like I'm here with all of you. I'm doing marketing and promotion for my music festival. I'm doing like a takeover on Saturday. And planning for the festival is a lot of fun, but it's also a lot of work. And I was super excited when I received the invitation to speak with all of you today from Creative Mornings Phoenix. I've seen like some really cool speakers. You guys have been in some really cool spaces and locations. And I really glad to be here because I think Creative Mornings like totally aligns with everything Funky Latina. So, first of all, give it up for yourselves. I want you guys to give yourselves a round of applause for showing up today. Give it up. Thank you for being here. I'm so happy and proud to be here and to be in community with you. I think one of the hardest things to do is show up, especially on a Friday, again at 8 in the morning. Like, that's a lot of love. But y'all are already ahead of the game. You are part of Creative Mornings Phoenix. You are already in this space, and you are all leaders. So thank you for sharing this time with me. It's moments like this and spaces like this that are like I'm truly grateful for and I think are validating and are like a legitimate reminder, like physically and emotionally that I'm on the right path. So thank you guys for being here, for taking this journey with me. We're gonna have some fun, and I think at a minimum, you're gonna at least get a little laugh. So thank you. I started thinking about how I wanted to address all of you, especially at the top of this crazy year. This has been particularly challenging for so many people, and that includes creatives who want to make a difference in their community. This is the time when we need community. And I'm sure, like, somehow, sometimes messaging, especially I feel like at the beginning of the new year, gets super convoluted and it's like new year, new me, or I need to do these resolutions. I got to eat these grapes under the table, or like, it's just a lot going on. And then you're like comparing yourself to somebody online you don't even know. And I think that that pressure can be very real. So before I get started, I want to take a few breaths together. This always helps me stay grounded, be in the moment. I know for myself as like a content creator and podcaster, like I spend way too much time online and on my phone. So I have to remind myself to slow down and stay focused. And I think like just a couple deep breaths and being in the moment helps you set the intention for the rest of the day. So I'm not going to breathe heavy into the microphone, but if we could just do a couple deep breaths together, I think it would be really helpful. So at your leisure, feel free to breathe in. We can do one more. You could close your eyes if you like. Just breathe in all the positivity. Breathe in the energy. This is a really cool space. Again, it's so easy. I usually get a little bit nervous and I feel really good being with you guys. So breathe it in, let it out, and let's just, let's have a good time together. Let's enjoy our time that we have together and let's set the intention for the rest of the day. So thank you for doing that with me. As I said before, I'm super happy to be here. And again, I had to put some thought into how I wanted to address all of you today. I think it can be like intimidating getting on stage and talking to people can be intimidating, but like learning about creative mornings and feeling like you're truly in community makes it a lot easier. Um, and I was like, okay, so it's not so much about what I want to say, but it's about how do I want to make all of these people feel? How do I want to make all these fellow creatives and leaders feel? And I'm calling you leaders because I believe that's part of my mission, all things Funky Latina. That's one of the layers of being me and being a member of the creative community that I serve and an entrepreneur. So we're going to unpack the layers of being the Funky Latina. I wish it was just disco balls and glitter, but I promise it's so much more than that. I just celebrated my 5th anniversary of the Funky Latina. So 5 years in the entrepreneurship game. Shout out to me. I did that. I'm a solopreneur. So if you're a solopreneur, shout out to you too, because it can be very challenging to keep going. The Funky Latina is my production company, which basically serves as layer one. It started out as a blog, or what I jokingly tell people, but is actually true, a way to get free concert tickets. I was going to shows like all the time, a couple times a week, and it was starting to get expensive. And so I was reached out to a couple different venues and I was like, hey, I'll blog my experience, I'll review the artist in exchange for free concert tickets. That was literally how it all started. That's all I wanted. And I got free tickets for a little while during the first year of the pandemic, during the first year of blogging, that's when the pandemic hit. So no more concerts, no more events, no more being together, no more live music. And I was like, okay, I need to pivot. We're all stuck at home. The artists are stuck at home. They're not getting any press. Like, what can I do? How can I stay creative myself, but also like connect with other musicians in a safe way? And that's when I got the idea to start my own Instagram live talk show, and it's called Let's Hear It, where every other week I would interview a different Latinx artist across all genres, and we would talk about community, culture, music, and how all of that collides. And I was really nervous when I started it because I was like, again, I didn't have a ton of followers on Instagram, and I'm literally just DMing different artists asking if I could do an interview with them. And so I was nervous. I was like, what are they going to say? What if they turn me down? These artists I look up to and admire. And surprise, surprise, they actually responded. And I was able to have my first interview with an artist from Los Angeles, Danny Espinoza. She's kind of like I'd say a funk alternative fusion artist. She plays the guitar. She's really amazing. Check her out on Instagram, on Spotify. So shout out to her for giving me my first interview and taking a chance. It was during these interviews where actually the Funky Latina Music Festival was born. I was interviewing a band from Austin, Texas. They're called Brother Sports. They're an all Latino band, and they talked about how they love being musicians, they love creating, but they never get invited to music festivals. And when they do, they're at the bottom of the bill. And so what that means, if you ever look like at a music festival poster, you have your lineup and the headliners at the top, the not so famous or well-known acts are at the bottom. And sometimes, I mean, if you look at the Coachella lineup, you can't even see the people on the bottom. It's so small. And so, and a lot of times, like in depending on where they play, like you're lucky if you're getting paid money or getting paid your value for being an artist, or if you're just getting paid in drink tickets. So that's like another issue in the music industry that the Funky Latina is trying to solve. Wish me luck. But it was during that interview is when I got the idea. They were talking about their frustrations in the music scene in Austin. And I'm like, dang, that's a big music city. I can't believe like I'm hearing that. And so as we were talking during that interview, I said, okay, then let's build our own. Let's start our own music festival where you have Latino artists from the top to the bottom of the lineup, and we're showcasing up and coming Latinx artists. And I was like, you guys will be the first band that I book. How hard could it be to produce a music festival? Everybody does it. And so I would soon find out how challenging year one was, especially because we were on the heels of, the pandemics. I think doing anything during the pandemic presented an extra layer of challenges, but it was something I was really passionate about and I wanted to pursue. And I'm so glad I did because there was a need in my community and I was able to find a solution for that. The Funky Latina Music Festival is Arizona's only Latin indie music festival showcasing Latinx artists from all genres and backgrounds. So if you really want the tea on about the Funky Latina Music Festival, I do have a documentary. It's called The Funky Latina: Saving the World with Funk. It's available on YouTube and my Instagram, and it follows me throughout the first year of planning the music festival, which was one of the most challenging and rewarding experiences of my life. So definitely, if you have some time, check it out. Um, Enter another layer. I think a lot of times when the music industry and even just the overall entertainment industry thinks about, the Latinx community, they they forget about all the multiple layers that we possess and we are. But the Funky Latina Fest reminds and educates people that the Funky Latina community or the Latinx community is not a monolith. We don't just listen to Spanish music. And if I'm being honest, I can barely speak Spanish. My parents are bilingual, and when people are like, "Oh, do you speak Spanish?" and I'm like, "I speak Selena and I speak reggaeton." So, and you know what? I think that's what makes our community so beautiful, so rich and diverse, from the food we cook to the color of our skin to the texture of our hair to the music that we create. We're not a monolith. And at the Funky Latina Music Festival, we celebrate that diversity. And I don't want, I didn't want to wait for an invitation to the table. I wanted to build the table. And I built a table where, sorry, I'm like losing my voice. I built a table where every single person can have a seat. And I think it's really important because one of the things at the Funky Latina Festival that we pride ourselves on is that everyone is treated with dignity and respect, which is, I think, a minimum in any event, in any space, but that's something that we really ensure. And we want to invite all music lovers to come to join us and enjoy the event. I know I'm biased, but I think the Funky Latina Fest is one of the best events in Phoenix. It's one of the best events of the year. And it is really a full night of joy uh, where we get to celebrate our community and our culture. So today's theme is layers. And raise your hand if you're familiar with like music producing or like kind of how music producing works a little bit. I'm not an expert, but I dabble. You kind of have to when you start a podcast. Um, but an easy way to explain it is that, when you're creating a track or a song, you have to layer it. And so your favorite Bad Bunny song has vocals, that's one layer. And then you add the background, singers, that's another layer. You might have percussion. I'm sure you guys are familiar with like hearing like that snare in almost every single song. And you can even like layer a beat with multiple sounds to create a new beat. All of these layers come together to create one song. And that's how I feel about what I do. And I'm sure many of you can relate, especially if what you do and who you are takes up multiple layers. The song is the Funky Latina production company, but the layers are my music festival, the blogging, the content creation, the community building, the Funky Latina podcast. I do hosting, I do speaking engagements, I DJ. That's probably like my favorite thing that I don't get a lot of time to do, but I manage artists and I produce other events. All of these come together to create my own unique track or song. And it's starting, that could mean something different for everybody. And that could mean having a new track and having to go back and remix it, which is totally fine. So don't be afraid to switch up your layers. This could mean starting over or creating something new, or being the solution or need in your community. This moment in time, we need each other. And I think we need creatives now more than ever. Excuse me. I was doing so good. Every single time I get in front of people, I always cry. Um, I think we need creatives now more than ever. and it is your obligation and duty to share your gift with the world. So let's go make some beautiful music. Thank you guys so much for your time today. And thank you for being a part of the Funky Latina music community. I cried in front of you, so guess what? We're family now. Before I'm here for questions. I'll be here for a little while, but again, my name is Elyssa the Funky Latina. Check me out on Instagram at the Funky Latina. If you want to stay up to date on the music festival, follow Funky Latina Fest on Instagram. And yeah, I mean, my DMs are open, my emails are open. If I can be a resource, if you want to connect, don't be afraid to ask. I know sometimes asking questions in groups is kind of intimidating, so don't be afraid. But thank you guys. This was amazing.